Hey guys, my name is Kris Barocsi. Welcome to Gear Corner. Today, I want to check out a new old friend, the Walrus Audio Slötva, which is one of the coolest sounding and most beloved ambient reverb pedals. But this one, the Slötva, can also save presets. If you enjoy what I'm doing here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the description box for timestamps, gear links, additional infos, etc. Also, check out my merchandise if you want to support the channel. I would much appreciate it. We've seen the Slötva as a limited special edition last year, but finally Walrus Audio decided to bring it out as a normal standard pedal in their range. A disclaimer in advance before we get into the specs and everything about the Slötva. There is a reason for the Slö being the most sold Walrus Audio pedal and one of the most beloved ambient reverb pedals of all times. It just does something special. You'll hear all three modes in the video, and you've heard it already in the intro song. Let's get into the specs. The knobs pretty much explain themselves, except for one, the X. We'll talk about it in a sec. The first is the DK, which allows you to set the length of the reverb trail. The second one is the filter, which opens up the reverb tone if you turn it clockwise. Next one is the mix, dry to wet. Perfect, makes all the sense. Then the X knob, we'll talk about it later as told. And the depth is for all the modulation stuff, because the pedal has different modulation wave types, which you can also change. And this, the depth knob will let you mix that modulation into the reverb signal. And this switch is awesome. It's called the sustain, which lets you sort of build up a massively overwhelming, huge reverb madness. It's very nice, and it's a very nice build up. And if you let it go, it just decreases again. And it's a very natural way. So they programmed this switch to make it very usable in a song. All right, let's check out the reverb modes. The first one is called dark. You can switch the modes with this mini toggle. And up here you start with dark, which gives you a lower octave into your reverb trail, which is a very creative, very cool way of making sort of scary and very ambient sounding reverb trail. I love that mode. That's at this moment my favorite one because it's just so unique. Let's talk about the X knob, which again, for all three modes, does something else. For this mode, it mixes in more and more of that lower octave into the reverb signal, which is very cool. You can make it sound very subtle or super obvious if you max it out. The next reverb mode is called Rise, which is an auto swell reverb. It's really cool, but if you play short notes, it's gonna be dry. There's not gonna be any reverb because it needs to sort of fade in, okay? So let those notes and chords ring, and then the reverb will build up. It's very, very cool. The X knobs feature in this mode is the time, the delay, how long it takes for the reverb trail to fade in. And the last mode is the Dream mode, the Dream reverb, which is a lush and smooth and huge reverb tone. It's beautiful. The sustain knob has a really cool function in this mode, in this Dream mode. Normally the sustain is a momentary switch. In the other two modes, you have to push it as long as you want it to sustain your note, and then you let it go, and then it builds back, like goes back to your settings on the pedal. In the Dream mode, it's a latching switch, which means that it will freeze your note or chord, whatever you're playing at the moment, as soon as you push it. And then it just holds that until you push it again, and then it sort of degrades or goes back to normal, which is very cool, very interesting. And it's so nice to have like a different feature for at least the biggest reverb sound, which is the Dream mode on the pedal. And it's just a very creative way of using the sustain knob. It's a freeze knob. Oh, and the X knob has a vibrato feature in the Dream mode, which means that as soon as you have this freeze happening, you can decide if that should be sort of a wobbly kind of freezed chord, or if it should not have any modulation going on. The modulation type is also very nice and tweakable on the Slötva, which is really cool. You have to just hold down the bypass knob, and then while you're holding that, you can choose between sine, warp, and sync. Sine is a normal and nice and even modulation type or wave shape. The second one, the warp, sounds a little bit like an old tape machine, like when it's sort of not holding the pitch anymore. It's a little asymmetric and just sort of random. I love that one. And the third one is sync, which is a little bit like a dive-only tremolo kind of thing. So you have your pitch, and then it just modulates the pitch down, and just down, not up. And now let's talk about the preset function, which makes the Slötva different than the Slö. So it's really easy to go between the presets. You just have to push down both switches at the same time. And with that, you go sort of cycle between all three presets you can save in the pedal. And if you want to create a new preset, it's really simple. You set up your knobs, and on that current preset you was tweaking, you just push both down until it blinks, and then it's saved for that color, for that preset. And yeah, just make sure that if you want a new preset, don't override the one you just created. Okay, so wherever you are when you start tweaking, that's where you will save that preset. That's a little, well, I can see some accidents happening there, but if you know that, if you're aware of this fact, you will not start tweaking on a preset you already love, because then if you want to save that new creation of yours, you will overwrite your older preset, which you probably didn't want to lose. So yeah, that's the only thing you have to be aware of. That's sort of the drawback of having just a few knobs on a pedal that's super clever. So my thought on the pedal, well, it's pretty much tonally, it's the Slö. And that's not a new pedal, it's been out for a while now, but because I never covered it and I really like it, I thought, yeah, sure, that's gonna be very interesting, and I definitely wanna show the tones to you guys as well. Does it make sense for Walrus to bring out something that's so similar to the original one? Absolutely, because on a pedal like this, I would want to have more than just one tone. If I'm playing with a very traditional reverb pedal, I will most probably stick to one reverb tone, whether it's a plate reverb, spring reverb, whatever it is. I will most probably stick to that because that's kind of a subtle, always on kind of reverb. And I don't really need a preset on a pedal like that. I'm looking at you, UAFX. But on a pedal like this, which is all about inspiration and crazy over-the-top reverbs and huge trails and whatever, you really want to sort of save different tones and different reverb types for different songs or different band projects or whatever it is. And since it has 3 reverb modes, you will probably have like a favorite setting on all 3 of them. So why not having a preset that you don't have to tweak knobs each and every time you want to just go between the dark and whichever rise. The Slötva with the preset options makes all the sense. All right, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think of the tones you've heard, what you think of the pedal, and yeah, which is your favorite reverb? Do you use like a crazy over-the-top ambient kind of stuff, or something more traditional, maybe just the amps reverb? Let me know in the comments below. See you next week in a new video, and meet you down there in the comment section. I'll be back. Bye-bye.